Hey guys, Jonathan here, and in today's video, we'll be comparing every single LEGO Marvel Avengers Endgame Final Battle set from the original back in 2019 all the way up to the new 2025 Portal set. Now, we've gotten several sets that are set during the Endgame battle. However, to keep things as simple and streamlined as possible, I'm only going with the biggest representations of the final battle. Otherwise, we'd be taking a look at random things like this Thor set here that was just like an accessory pack, or the Sanctuary 2, which are very cool sets in their own right. However, they're a little bit more difficult to compare because just about every single one here has at least 7 minifigures. In fact, as weird as the 2025 one is, it has the most minifigures of any of them, and technically is the second cheapest, even adjusted for inflation. So there's a lot to break down and look at. I was shocked at looking some of these statistics up for these sets, and I'm really excited to walk down memory lane. So let's hop in our quantum time machine and head all the way back to 2019, where it all began. All right, so this is the Compound Battle from 2019. It retailed for $100 back then, which adjusted for inflation is about $125 in today's money. It had 699 pieces in 7 minifigs, the majority of which were exclusive, those being the Ant-Man microfigure, Thanos, Nebula, and the Hulk. So a lot of really cool stuff here, so let's take a closer look at those minifigs. So we've got all our minifigs here now. Of course, probably the most boring one is the Outrider, because we got them in so many sets, but in retrospect, it's crazy that all these Endgame Final Battle sets, and this is the only one that came with any Outrider of any type, so that's kind of interesting. The Thanos Big Fig was exclusive to this set, and definitely really cool, although not really accurate for the movie at the time, because he's like got the helmet, the printing on it is nice and all that's good. He's got the brick-built hammer here that spins. Again, not really accurate to the movie because he has the butter knife of doom we'll look at in a moment. But the printing on the arms was really nice. And of course, you could just take these arms and put them on any other Thanos to kind of make some, customizations there. But this was, I think, the last Thanos Big Fig we'd get before they would start having the posable and removable heads, so that's something there. Of course, we also got a Hulk Big Fig. This is the closest we've gotten to date for a smart Hulk, although this isn't really accurate to how he looks in the movie either, because, he's always wearing, like, a sweater vest or something like that, and then, of course, at the end of the movie, he's in his, like, purple power-up suit, so he never really looks like this in Endgame, so it is a really nice Hulk figure, but not accurate by any stretch. Then, of course, we have my girl, Captain Marvel. You guys know I love Captain Marvel. And she's got her orange power blasts here. This is the same figure that also came in the Captain Marvel set from her solo film. And, of course, she does have a reversible head here. It works really, really well. Of course, leg printing, arm printing, all of that would have been nice. But for what it's worth, it makes for a really nice figure to display with all those power blasts and everything. Then, of course, we've got my guy, Mini Ant-Man. This is the Micro Ant-Man. Of course, no printing on the back, but that silver helmet's really nice. And one thing I always liked is, if you got enough of these, they could kind of represent all the Quantum Avengers, since once they put the helmets on, they all kind of look the same. The only difference is they have, like, blue eyes, but, for custom showcases and stuff like that, definitely works out really great. Then we have Iron Man, who at the time was new, but we've gotten quite a few Mark 85 Iron Man since then. Of course, underneath, we've got Tony's head with the HUD on the other side, about what you'd expect. And this figure came in several other sets, including the next set we're going to look at chronologically here. The final figure, which was exclusive, was Nebula. Of course, the torso and legs were used on all of the Quantum Suit Avengers, but the only thing that makes her exclusive is the head, which was not used on any other version of Nebula, and honestly, this one's probably my favorite of them all, so that's really saying something. Okay, so onto the set itself. It's a pretty sizable build for only about 700 pieces, not including the pieces used on minifigs, that is. But as you can see, we've got a gate that opens up front here, and the garage door retracts in. Then we can pull out a vehicle from the garage. It's a nice little Avengers buggy vehicle with stickers on the sides, room for one driver, and a turn piece here that can move up and down with the stud shooters up there. Now, obviously, this and even the helicopter didn't appear in the movie, but in the context of Avengers Endgame at the time, LEGO couldn't make sets that had spoilers for the movie in it, So they had to make something generic that could also be a playset for kids to enjoy, which is why we got stuff like the helicopter and all that. As far as the helicopter goes, it is a pretty solid little build. Of course, it can seat one figure inside, the propeller spin, and we have a turnable stud shooter on the front. Then we have a really nice landing pad up top with that Avengers A logo on there. And we'll go ahead and move the camera inside so we can take a closer look at everything here, including the turret up top that spins and is posable, and of course is a missile launcher with spring-loaded missiles. We've got a table here that lifts up, and you can see there are some blasters hidden inside, as well as a schematic of an Outrider and an Infinity Stone on the wall, showing that they're about to be attacked. Of course, this goes right back into center there. And we also have a little walkway here thing that turns so that a figure can get like inside and outside. It's completely unnecessary. It could have just been a door, but it is a fun little play feature for kids, for sure. As we move down to the bottom floor, one thing I always loved is this sticker. It's supposed to be like a hand scanner, but that's what a minifig hand looks like, so that's how it works. Then these lasers can move down so that a minifig could go in and access the Infinity Gauntlet, but also we can pull it out of the wall and go here. Back in the day, it was crazy to get the Infinity Gauntlet like this because it didn't have all the Infinity Stones. And in fact, the only way to get all the Infinity Stones back then was to have bought every single Infinity War set from the year prior. It was crazy with spoilers. You know, everybody was wondering what was going to happen in Endgame. And when we saw this Lego set that only had the Power and Time Stone, people were like, oh, what's going to happen? You know, obviously we know now it's just something Lego did to not give us all the stones in one set. But it is interesting all these years later now that we know. We have a spinnable computer down here that has a schematic for the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity Stones on it. And beyond that, that's really all there is to say about the set. I always like the walkway. I always like how connected it is. And again, it's hard to believe that you got all of this in 700 pieces for $100 at the time, which again, adjusted for inflation, is $125 today. Honestly, not a bad value, all things considered. Okay, so here we have the Avengers Endgame Final Battle from 2021. This retailed for $70 with 527 pieces, which at the time didn't feel like a good price-to-piece ratio, but even adjusted for inflation, it'd only be $83 today with 7 minifigures, many of which were brand new at the time, and to this day, Thanos and Captain America are technically still exclusive. I might also say Iron Man's exclusive because of the shield that he has brick-built, but that could be a conversation we have in the comments. Regardless, this set has the exact same name as the 2025 Avengers Endgame Final Battle, which is just kind of funny. But, yeah, I actually think this one has aged exceptionally well. I think that this is one of the better playsets of them all, so let's take a closer look at it all and start breaking it down, but I really love this set. So for our minifigs, we got a Chitauri here. This is the same one that's been used for years at this point. Not a bad figure, definitely a fine army builder, but man, you've got a lot of these if you've been buying LEGO Marvel for the last several years. This also gave us a Black Panther in his powered-up suit with all the kinetic energy built into the suit with those purple details. A really nice figure overall. He was not exclusive to this set, but he did debut in this wave, which was cool at the time. Of course, we got Thor in his Endgame outfit, and crazy enough, we haven't gotten this figure in years, even with all the Endgame battle sets now. You know, he's definitely gone up in desirability if you didn't get him back then, but it's a really nice figure overall with the long hair and everything there. Like I said, Iron Man technically is the same as the previous set we just looked at, but this shield with the stickers on it is really cool, definitely emblematic of the final battle, and I'm actually genuinely shocked that he hasn't come with this shield ever since this set, because, you know, again, it's pretty iconic for that final battle. I like it a lot. Here we have the Micro Ant-Man. He debuted in this set, but has been in LEGO sets ever since. It's just kind of a nice generic Ant-Man that pays homage to all of the suits, but it is quite clearly the Endgame suit, no doubt about it. Here we have Endgame Captain America, who unbelievably was only ever used in this set. He had a great back print, but of course the main excitement here is the scale mail printed on the torso, which looks great. It also used the helmet with the chin strap on one side and the smirk on the other, and he came with his shield and Mjolnir, which debuted in this shield style around the same time. It actually debuted in 2019, but again, at the time it was still relatively new, so really, really nice all around. Then, of course, we have Scarlet Witch, who came with all of these pink Power Blast pieces, kind of like Captain Marvel in the previous set. Interestingly enough, she uses the exact same head here that she had in the CMF series. It's not very common that a CMF part gets put into a regular minifig style set, but regardless, it's pretty sweet, and we've been getting this exact same torso for the last 4 years and counting. So yeah, definitely lots of opportunities to get this Scarlet Witch in your collection. And finally, we have another Thanos in this set who is exclusive because of his head expression. This body will be used on the next two Thanoses from 23 and 25, but this kind of like angry smirk face was only ever used on this, and we have a giant build for his butter knife of doom, which if we take it out of his hand, you can see how that's built. It's pretty simple, and overall makes for a really solid big fig, and if you've never seen how the head can be removed, that's how it works. So yeah, definitely awesome, and like I said, one of the, if not the very first big fig to have a removable head. Now, as we start to take a look at the set, I want you guys to remember that the entire set is only 527 pieces, so think about how many of those pieces are used in this van alone. Honestly, this could have been a set on its own with, like, Ghost, Ant-Man, Hank Pym, something like that, like from the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, but we can remove the roof panels, and there's actually a huge amount of storage, so you could fit minifigs inside to drive. You can see that there's actually a sticker on the dashboard, too, which is pretty cool. Then, of course, if we zoom that out, I love the sticker on the back showing that there's like an ant family there. Of course, with Ant-Man and then the two ants, kind of like the stick family like you see on people's cars. And we can lift that up to see a sticker of the quantum tunnel on the inside, which of course is integral to the Avengers winning Endgame at all. And of course, we've got the X-Con stickers on the side, right out of Ant-Man and the Wasp. And this is such a cool build in addition to the set all around. Now, onto the set itself, it is a really sweet build. Now, over here, we've got the Avengers A that's on a sticker of that slanted piece, and it's kind of built in to be, like, broken and off to the side. Then on this side, we actually have a cannon that can turn, and it's a missile launcher. So when you press this red button, it launches the missile like that. These are also completely removable if you wanted. Just have to remove them like that. And once you do that, you could just have like the compound on its own. I guess you could even trade the places of them, although the Avengers A would be backward, but it is pretty cool that you can do that. Anyways, on to the set itself. We have yet another minifig hand scanner at the door here, kind of like the previous compound, so that's pretty fun. With scanning in, of course, that door will open to allow you to get inside. Then we can flip it around, and interestingly enough, even though this came out after Endgame, it's not super accurate to Endgame, in the sense that there's like a giant prison with those laser grids so that you could put the entire Big Fig Thanos in prison in the compound. I mean, as a playset for kids, that actually does work out pretty darn good, but definitely not accurate to the movie, which is funny because, like, again, this came out way after spoilers, so there's that. But we have a nice little hallway that they can walk down through that front door. We did get a minifig scale Stark gauntlet here, which of course has a little clip to put in a minifig's hand. And I love that on here we could see the reference to Tony figuring out time travel, and we also have schematics of the Stark gauntlet on these little computer screens, which is very cool. Up top, we have a little sitting area with the Avengers A and some blasters right here, but beyond that, there's really not too much to say here. That being said, despite how simplistic this set is, I really dig the fact that it is so simplistic and does so much with so little at only 527 pieces and $70 retail price back in the day. Now, beyond any doubt, this is probably the least liked of any Endgame battle set here. It is the Endgame Final Battle from 2023. This, of course, recreates the A-Force scene where all of the girls team up, and it's just a strange concept for a set. Like, you would think that it would have more, like, connectivity or something like that, and really, it's just kind of this big landmass of craziness. Like, I don't know, there's just like so much going on, it's kind of distracting to the eye. We've got the ant van here with the tunnel again in the back, but it's just like all smushed up. There's the rat from the beginning of the movie. But, I mean, I don't know. I've always just felt like this is kind of a jumbled mess. I think it's cool in concept, but it's the kind of thing that I would be a lot more excited if I ever saw it at like a LEGO convention as a mock. And like, oh, wow, that's so cool. Somebody did like a mock of that scene rather than a set that retailed for $100. And I saw it on clearance for $50 all the time. So you know, it's just not that great of a set, all things considered. It did have 7 minifigs, and Thanos was exclusive until the 2025 set reused him, so he's not exclusive, and the only real exclusive minifig here is Valkyrie. But let's run through all of those minifigs real quick and take a closer look at them now. Since I had the camera on freehand mode, I'll go ahead and show you, like, the main thing is that you could split it apart like this. There's Cap's shield in the back, and it could turn into a much larger display. But again, I'm not really sure if that's the kind of thing that's all that exciting. You know, now Valkyrie's portal is facing the wrong way. I don't know if you can, like, lift that out and change it or not, but I just don't know that it's really worth it. This was not a very good set back in the day, and unfortunately, it hasn't aged all that great. So the minifig selection here was pretty interesting. Of course, up first we had the Wasp micro figure, which was really nice. Of course, no printing on the back like there never is, but it's really, really cool to get Wasp. This would be used in the Quantumania set as well, though, so not exclusive, unfortunately. Then we have the Valkyrie figure who came on her Pegasus, which, of course, you could move back to have the Pegasus kick up. The head moves, too. And then, of course, there's Valkyrie, but we've got those wings that are built into the side. Like I said, she is the only exclusive minifigure here with that exclusive torso print, but the head and hair would be used again in the Thor Love and Thunder set, so it's literally just the torso that's exclusive here. Then we got Shuri, a really great figure who was in some of the Black Panther Wakanda Forever sets, and even Infinity Saga sets before this, so not exclusive. Captain Marvel, also not exclusive, but I guess to be fair, she was only in one other set. I always forget, too, that my Captain Marvel is mismolded. I left it on this set because it's so unique, but look how there's, like, that little piece of blue coming out of her shoulder. The arm, like, must have come out of the molding machine wrong. Do you see that, like, little fringe of blue there? Pretty interesting. Anyways, we also got Okoye, who, admittedly, even though she is not exclusive, she's a great army builder for the Dora Milaje, so I do like this one quite a bit. And Thanos was exclusive there for a hot minute, but the 2025 set comes with Thanos all over again, so not too terribly much to say there. Of course, he does have that removable head with an angry face this time, and the iconic butter knife of doom. Now that brings us to the 2025 set, which retails for $100 with 621 pieces and 10 minifigs in total. Unbelievably, now that we've looked at all 4 of these, this is the second cheapest one adjusted for inflation, but I just don't know where all the money went because the minifigs are all repeats. Like, for example, Doctor Strange is in his Multiverse of Madness outfit. Wanda is the same one we got back in 2021 with a different hairpiece and head. So, but those pieces have been used in other ones. Actually, I'm just realizing I forgot to include Wanda in the last section. Oh no. Well, you're basically looking at her now. Oh well. The Iron Man is brand new, at least, with new legs and torso print for the Mark 85. The translucent shield and sword piece are cool. Thanos is the same as before, but with a new, smaller butter knife of doom. We get the new 2025 style Black Panther, which is a nice minifig in its own, but it's not based off of anything specific, and it's certainly not based off of Endgame, so that's odd. Cap has a new shield, which is cool in principle, but just the fact that, like, it's a half-broken shield printed on a full shield is messing with my head, the physics of it, but the head and cowl are the same, or the helmet, rather, as the 2021, but he has the Age of Ultron torso for some reason. LEGO just got so dang lazy. We also have another Chitauri hanging out over here. I guess good for army building or whatever, but, you know, certainly the least exciting inclusion here. We've got the Avengers A logo, which looks more like the Fantastic Four logo. As you can see, that could be lifted out, and you can actually, like, move around the portals in these different squares, which, again, it's not, like, the coolest thing in the world, but at least it's something. Then we have a portal down there for Black Panther to walk through from the movie. We've got Falcon, who is exactly the same as the Avengers Tower version. The wings are just built slightly different with a flat piece here rather than a stud exposed. Then, of course, we have the Iron Spider-Man up top, which is a cool figure, especially because we've only ever gotten one MCU Iron Spider-Man back in 2018 with the Infinity War Sanctum, but we're getting another Iron Spider-Man that'll have arm printing in the bust set, so if you could just wait for that, that's better. And then we have Ant-Man, who's encapsulated in his mech, which doesn't make any sense, because, like, if Ant-Man grows and turns into a mech, like, literally that doesn't make sense, but you guys know I'm not a big fan of mechs to begin with, but we've got the normal posability at the shoulders, at the hips, at the ankles. And of course, we can open it up and remove the Ant-Man minifig from the inside to see what he looks like here, having a brand new helmet piece and a brand new torso piece. This is our first Ant-Man that isn't in his quantum suit since 2018's Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is definitely a nice breath of fresh air. But overall, you know, the leg printing could have been better. But when you consider that basically Ant-Man is the only truly exclusive minifigure here in the sense that we haven't gotten one in years, because we just got an Iron Man Mark 85 not that long ago. I know the torso and legs are new, don't get me wrong. And then, of course, the Iron Spider, but the minifigs leave a lot to be desired. As far as play features go, you can press this and make those rocks fly up, and you could do the same over here. Whoa, how fun is that? And you can remove this front part, so if you just wanted to display the Thanos battle, you could. But beyond that, there's really nothing going on here that's all that exciting. So this is just a lump of bricks for $100 if you ask me, and definitely not very exciting, to be honest with you. Guys, well, needless to say, we've discovered a lot about these sets, and I actually think, despite how chaotic my table looks right now, they actually look pretty sweet all set up side by side. So there's no doubt in my mind that the 2021 Final Battle set at only $70, again adjusted for inflation is only $83 today, was definitely the best value. We got a full-fledged playset that you could add Avengers to, plus the X-Con van, plus all of those minifigs that came with it, which were super awesome, despite the fact that barely any of them were exclusive. I would say that my least favorite is the Endgame Final Battle from 2023. It's just a weird set. It doesn't really fit in very well, and with so few of those minifigs being exclusive, well, yeah, that definitely detracted some points. Then that comes down to the middle between the 2019 Compound Battle and the Final Battle from this year, and I do love that 2019 one so much. Again, it's such a great playset. There's a lot of features going on the inside, and you could have a lot of battles and adventures here that have nothing to do with Endgame, whereas this year, the 2025 one, well, it just has to be that portal scene, and it's kind of stuck as a diorama, and despite all the minifigs, it just feels like it's missing heart that all three of the other sets actually have in varying degrees. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and bring this comparison to a close. Let me know how many of these you have, and most importantly, which one is your favorite. Be sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.